uh, your the planning commission, all of those entities use our services. We also serve all the department heads, so HR, utilities, everything that could come up from a hole, someone falling in a hole to a slip and fall at the library. We handle all of that. We answer questions of employees with respect to what their rights are in certain circumstances. We do a lot in the city beyond advising council. I do want to also shout out my team. I have 11 faithful lawyers and paralegals who work with me to do this work. Many of them have been doing this work for the city for well over a decade, some as long as 5 years. I think the least amount of service to this city is 5 or 6 years in my office. So, we do a lot that involves protecting the assets and liability of the city, from the concerts that you see down at down at the waterfront.
Yes.
We negotiate those terms and things like that. So we do a lot at the city, for the city attorney's office.
Yeah, thanks for that, because I just wanted the listeners and the watchers to understand exactly what the role of the city attorney's office is. And most people just know a lot of times what they see. And
right.
What they see might not explain everything that's really done. So thanks for doing that.
Sure.
Other co-hosts can jump in there now, if you like.
Well, I'm excited because, first of all, this is one of my children, 1983 grad of the great Israel Charles Norcom High School.
That's right. 93, but that's
93,
okay.
I done made you 83, 93. I'm trying to take you back almost to my era, right? Okay, 93 grad of Israel Charles Norcom High School.
That's right.
Was a cheerleader at Israel Charles Norcom High School.
That's
and
right.
She comes back and she supports her school. But Lavonda, let's talk about something about your beginning.
Yeah.
I did not know that you were a reading tutor for elementary students in the city of Williamsburg.
Absolutely. Part of what the great thing about going to William and Mary Law School was that they had a very robust connection to the community. And coming from Portsmouth, one of the things that is wonderful about our city is our connection to our community.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I had the opportunity to serve as a reading tutor at the elementary school while I was in law school, it was one of the most rewarding experiences, and really tapped me into realizing the need for the community to support education. I was a reading tutor for advanced students as well as special needs students. And so I saw the breadth and depth of how much is involved in educating our children. And that was one of the highlights for sure.
And it's important to note that although you're doing work for the city now as the city attorney, you did begin your law degree as a litigation associate with Huff Pool and Mahoney PC in Virginia Beach, where you were involved in criminal and civil defense in state and federal court systems.
That's right. Serving there, I was able to really cut my teeth on what I wanted to do, which was be in the courtroom and advocate for people. So I got to do that in all courtrooms across the area in both state and federal court. It was a wonderful experience.
Which gives you a full circle experience.
Absolutely. That's exactly right. That's exactly right. Full circle.
Okay, Colonel, did you have something?
Oh yeah, I always have something.
Always have something.
What's the matter? Getting it in there.
That's right.
I wanted to get this one in here. And I watched the city council meeting, and I had a question on the golden parachutes that only 2 of the 4 horsemen are left, and you may not know who the horsemen are, but
I don't.
He does not.
No, I don't.
Yeah, DeAndre and Mark are the only 2 left. So they were part of the 4. The other 2 were vanquished in the last election. So I have a question on the golden parachutes that they gave the old city manager and others at the top level. does everybody in the city of Portsmouth get these golden parachutes? If you get fired, you get 200,000 or a year worth of salary. And is this is this a HR policy? One. Two is 2 of the 4 horsemen that are left, they spend money, Portsmouth's money like nothing, putting these clauses in the old city manager's piece. Is there some kind of legal liability for that? That's the second question. So I'll let you get those 2 off the chest.
Well, Colonel, you jump right into it, don't you? I see. I will tell you, we are currently in litigation on these matters, so I have to tread lightly, and I'm gonna decline to answer some of it because of it. But I will tell you that we are working very diligently to address any issues that involve financial transactions that affect the coffers of the city. Mr. Overton said, my job is to serve the citizens of Portsmouth, and everything that we do out of my office is to make sure that we are doing what's in the best interest of the city. And so with regard to those transactions, we are evaluating them and advising our council on the appropriate measures for future transactions. So I appreciate the question.
Oh, it's good. I know that was a tough one there, and I know about the litigation. You really can't talk about that, but I'll go on to my next one.
Yes, sir.
Yes. So I'll call this gift card gate.
Okay.
Says that it was missing 300,000. He wanted to spend, what was that, $80,000 for this bogus, what I call a bogus investigation. What I thought that, could your office have appointed somebody to look at where these gift cards were at, and actually I'd have just brought them there and throw them on city council desk. Mark, you wasting money again. Can you talk to us about gift card gate?
The day-to-day transactions of the city are within the purview of the city manager. And one of the things that, when you have a balance of the executive branch and the management branch, and then our part, which is really the attorneys here on the judicial litigation part of it, is to sort of provide balance to each other. And so we sort of stay in our lane with respect to some of those analysis. And so the first question really is for the day-to-day management of the city to evaluate what's appropriate in those circumstances. And so the city council acted accordingly based on the wishes that they believed the people wanted. And so it looks like the city's moved beyond that. And if ever there was a need for the city attorney's office to get involved, we would act accordingly. And that has not been called upon us to do that to date. So,
So I just wanted to just go back just a minute, and we'll get back into the meat of the conversation that the Colonel has started, and because that's important too, to know what's going on there. And I think some of those questions that the Colonel asked, I wish that we had some of the previous city attorney to ask him, since most of that happened during his watch. But he still might have been sort of limited in what he could say, because he still works for the city, and some things are still in litigation, like you said. But I want to go back just a minute to I saw something when you were in law school, and this might help law school students, that I didn't know, that in your 3rd year you could have a certificate,
that's
a
right,
law certificate, where you could actually go into the courtroom and practice as a law student.
Oh yeah, it's an invaluable experience. Yeah,
with the approval of the parties involved.
That's right.
Especially in the Commonwealth Attorney's Office, where it's a criminal matter, you had to have their approval. But how that had to be, is that typical of 3rd year students, or
it is now. It is part and parcel of every Virginia law student has the ability, if they take certain courses and perform a certain level of achievement in those courses, they are allowed to have what's called a 3rd year practice certificate. So you're able to, right before you enter into your 3rd year, your 2nd year summer, with all the checks and balances that you discuss, go into the courtroom under the supervision of a licensed attorney and actually do the actual things that they are doing, whether it's litigating a case or negotiating a contract or mediating something. And I was able to use mine at the Commonwealth Attorney's Office under Martin Bullock's tutelage. I got into that courtroom right away. And it was an amazing thing, because I was able to see that that was something that I wanted to do moving forward. So it's not always taken advantage of, because a lot of law students don't want to do litigation work, or they aren't quite ready to get into the meat and potatoes of it. But it was really something that they pushed for us at William and Mary, and that was a great experience for sure.
Yes, and starting that early, and then a couple of that with all the other different experiences you had, made you prepared for the position you have now, because it's a whole different turn from the things that you were doing previously, you know, criminal and representing tenants and things like that, and to come into the service of public service of a city. So, but all those things probably help you get in there. But still, you hit the ground running. But still, when you come into the job you have now, it's still sort of a learning curve there too.
Yeah, well, I will tell you, you know, having been a partner in a large firm and running my own practice, those things, in addition to what you described, really set the tone and give you the skill set to do the things that you need to do for the city. You're constantly evaluating what course of action is best for the city, while balancing the fact that you have 7 different individuals whose responsibility it is to make that decision. You got to carefully craft answers so that you are giving as much as you can so they can make the best decision, but also tread lightly so that you are not offending one group or another when you have to give a yes or no answer to something they may want to do. So it's full circle for sure. I've been blessed to have a number of opportunities that have prepared me for this. And I know my steps were ordered to be exactly where I am today. Yeah.
You know,
And one last thing, Leah, I want to applaud you for defending yourself. You know, sometimes like you have to tread lightly, but I saw a situation where it was implied that your office might not have been doing exactly what was supposed to be done. And in those situations, a lot of time you have to make sure you defend what you do and your integrity. And I applaud you for doing that. I didn't always see that in the positions before you.
Sure. Thank you for that.
But James and I, we sort of are vibing this morning because he stole my question that I was about to ask you. He just worded it in a different way. Okay.
Yeah, I saw your notes. I saw your notes.
I think it's almost being like a married couple. You know, you kind of feel where they're coming from. You know.
That's right.
But because I wanted to show once again that you were well prepared when you came to the city attorney's office.
Absolutely.
And I mean, your path, as you said, was led. It was created for you prior to coming here, because you've had experiences in so many areas, which better prepared you for where you are today. And I know I was there the day that they swore you in, and I tell you, my heart just was overflowing as I saw you take to that podium. And I was a little leery because I knew what situation you were getting into coming into the city of Portsmouth. So as I told you, I prayed for you constantly.
Listen, keep me in prayer. Keep me in
prayer, because I knew, like the colonel was asking, some of those questions the colonel asked, I knew you had to be in prayer to deal with some of the situations that you were going to have to deal with in the city of Portsmouth. And I applaud you on how you've handled them. As James said, sometimes you got to come to your own defense and working with those on that city council podium, but you have done well. And I just wanted to mention, as we still get into the meat of it all, that even while you were in law school, that you were president of the Black Law Students Association, editor of the Journal of Women and the Law, and a member of the Bill of Rights Institute on the moot court team.
Yes.
So you were definitely preparing yourself for this journey.
Definitely,
So,
definitely. I will say this, Miss Leah, I came into this, I don't do anything without preparing. And I came into this very educated about my city, about politics. I had worked very heavily in the political scene in Washington, D.C. and Northern Virginia. And it meant a lot to, there wasn't anything that was going to stop me from coming back to my city to bring the skill set that was the foundation was laid here in Portsmouth. Women like you, Miss Leah, I.C. Norcom's high school, the teachers, the support, the encouragement, there was nothing that was going to stop me from returning back to this city to show little girls and little boys just like me who were looking for direction and trying to figure out what the world has for you. And the world is open. It's even more open than it was when I was in that position not too long ago. So I thank you for your guys' compliments about the work that I'm doing. It is a dream for me. Every day I get to go into that office and serve this city. And I will tell you that, I spoke to each and every one of the council members, the ones who are no longer here and the ones who are here now. And we've had great conversations about what they want to have for the city. And politics is about different voices coming to the table. And you're going to have conflicts and you're going to have challenges, and we're not going to always see eye to eye. And that's part of the process. And we've got to learn how to embrace that in an effective way that moves the city forward and, leave the floor open for the various voices that move forward. That's the beauty of Portsmouth to me. And I welcome it. So I'm here for it all day long.
All day long.
All day long.
Colonel?
Okay. You know what? And I, as I look at your past and the preparation you have, I applaud you with the preparation, how you got there, because one, getting courtroom time is number one.
Yeah.
Because a lot of young attorneys don't get that, they bypass that.
Exactly.
And you've gotten a lot of other experiences that make you not hollow like a lot of other attorneys are. So you have that breadth of what I call breadth and depth of experience.
Oh yeah.
So, and then you're backed up by a office that has a lot of institutional knowledge.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
So I said a lot there. So, but now I'll get down to my other question.
He's getting to the meat now.
There it is. There it is.
Come on, Colonel.
So the last city manager made a lot of allegations of corruption. And whose response is so? Are those allegations that are said in city council and put in writing in the news, are they not investigated, or do they go by the wayside if they're not put in writing against that person? And as responsible for the city attorney, are you responsible for conducting those investigations?
Oh, that's a wonderful question, and you could be a law school professor because you are asking those deep multi-level questions. Well, firstly, any complaint made against the city is just that, allegations, and so you have to realize that lawsuits are crafted by lawyers seeking to put their clients' position in the best light. And that sometimes involves puffery. It involves, persuasive writing. And so what you see is one person's rendition of a situation that has many sides to it. So that's the first thing. So we don't take those things as absolute truths. So we don't just, take the document and run with it. Part of the process is sorting through the other side, and defending something like that is to parse through those allegations and investigate them. And when I say investigate them, it is to seek the truth of the matter so that you can properly defend it. Now, if you come across something that is a crime, our office is not the office to process that. It just like any reporting of a crime, it is reported to a law enforcement agency who then does their own type of investigation and proceeds accordingly. And so, so the short answer is yes, there is an investigation like any other case with any allegations where you are seeking, you're truth seeking. But in terms of an investigation for whether criminal acts have occurred, which corruption would be, that is done by a law enforcement agency, and that will be reported accordingly in an investigation done. So we also, you have to remember, in that particular lawsuit that you're referencing, we represent, those people are my clients, because the council as a body is represented by the individuals as a whole. And so even though I don't represent them in an individual capacity, I do represent them as members of the council, which are essentially actors of the city. And so it presents a unique scenario in the sense that we sometimes can't always step in and defend. We have to seek outside counsel to step in and defend because of the conflicts that are created. And when I say conflicts, whenever you have clients that you have represented, you are forever, you forever have an attorney-client privilege with them. And so you can never use the information that you have gained from that relationship to their detriment. And so you have to get outside counsel to then handle those matters for you. And although my office maintains management of all cases that come through, sometimes we have to allow, because of conflicts, other outside counsel to handle that. And that's what's happening in that case. Great question, Colonel.
Yes. So I got another follow-up that one though. And so as I draw a Venn diagram, and you talked about referrals of what I'll use the word corruption.
Okay.
What agencies do you do your referrals to mostly? And is it the Commonwealth Attorney would be the one to investigate those allegations, that if you find corruption, that you forward those allegations to city to FBI, or what agencies would be some of those?
So, you know, the reporter is different. So it's not always my office that does that. Sometimes it's just like any other agency. If law enforcement finds that there is enough information here to move forward, they are the agencies that would be the reporters and investigators. So it could start with the Federal Bureau of Investigations, which does most often are the ones who handle municipal corruption. It could be Virginia State Police. It could be our local police department. And oftentimes they have collaborative efforts amongst those agencies to do that. It could be the Attorney General's office. It just depends on which which agency finds that they're the best suited to look into the matters. And again, these are allegations. These are not, nothing I am saying is to indicate that any allegations against any one of my council members, current or former, are accurate or true or fact. These are simply allegations, and they will continue to be treated as such until proven otherwise.
Good point. Good points. And you know what? And you mentioned attorney-client
privilege.
So in this case, and I guess since you farm it out to another attorney group or whatever, somebody else,
outside counsel, yes,
counsel, they would be able to get doing discovery, everything that you have discovered, and if it is, does the crime, the thing that they're trying to get Trump on with the
sure, yeah.
Can you explain that? You know, when they pierce that attorney privilege?
Well, whenever attorney-client privilege is very difficult to penetrate. It is one of the tantamount principles of our judicial system. And so it will require a tremendous amount of information to prove that the privilege, the balance of what you are seeking versus the sanctity of that relationship, it would require a tremendous amount of evidence that the piercing that is more important than protecting it. And so usually if it is an indication of like in the matter with Trump, if there's a matter of national security or other such issues, then yes, but on our local level, you're not going to find that happening unless it is believed that the council themselves were really not using attorney-client privilege as a true privilege, but as a shield or some sort of way to, further some sort of criminal act. And you're certainly not going to find that in my office. But that would be the only way that would occur, I believe. Yeah.
Slim, you want to do the transition now before we go?
Yeah. And it's kind of hard to follow Professor Colonel. And that's why this thing works so well. We got people that have different roles that bring something different to the table. And I've been knowing the Colonel since we were in elementary school. He's always been deep.
Has he been deep like that? I should have known.
So, that's why he's here. He's been here, because he brings a different element to this.
Absolutely.
Anyway, we want to thank all the people watching on WGPL 1350 AM on your dial for listeners. And we will continue on Facebook Live. And join us next Monday morning, WGPL 13 listeners, for another intriguing show. Can I, Colonel, will you finish? Because I have a go ahead. If you have.
You go ahead. I got more. I don't want to.
Okay.
I don't want her to see me downtown and run.
Let me break in with my non-professor questions.
Okay.
I want to. People watching, citizens watching the council sometimes, as far as the Robert's Rules of Order.
Oh yeah.
And what we see sometimes is them not understanding the basic rules, and this is what the citizens see.
Okay.
And of course, your job is to advise them on, or how they interpret it. I don't know. It's clearly written, so I guess you have to interpret how they take it. But
sure.
A lot of times, what we see is them trying to handle it before they come to you for, how to handle it, because we see a whole thing go through and they get ready to vote, and then they have to say, well, look, then you don't know what you're voting on because all this conversation had gone on before, when you should have gone to you first to ask you how to handle this. So what are they do you do anything, or do they request to have any kind of training sessions or
Sure. Yeah, they do. We do they have a retreat annually. They regularly come to me with questions individually, about process and procedure when they anticipate there might be something out of the ordinary. But my role is, and a lot of people may not realize this, and I notice it in terms of what you just said, my role in the council meeting is not to play referee.
Right.
I am only there to give an opinion on the law, the parliamentary procedure, which is what you're describing, Mr. Overton, when I am asked of it. And that's a difficult role for a litigator and a leader of a legal office. You want to jump in all the time and say, all kinds of things. I don't even get to participate in the discussion. And that's in the charter. So, and so I am only to give my opinion when it is asked. Now, if I see that they may be going down a path that's going to completely mess something up and it's not going to be a legitimized process, I will intervene accordingly. But the goal of the parliamentary procedures are the Robert Rules of Order. And so there's actually 3 areas that direct the meeting. There is the rules of city council that they get, and they've created and adopted, and it's in writing, and those are the main bodies. That's the rules of city council. But there's also Robert's Rules, which comes into play whenever the city council rules don't apply. And there's also the process and procedure, which is found in our code and our charter. And so all of these things are at play. There's no way that the city council members who are part-time city council members, they have real lives outside of this, can know all of these things. And so I think what you see is sometimes they don't realize that they are getting themselves sort of roped in because they're in the discussion, they're having their discussion. Then when it's time to move forward, some are a little bit more stronger in that area than others in terms of making motions and the like. And so whenever they see that they're not sure of something, or, you know, I may give them a little hint with a little look or something, and then they'll know they need to reach down to me to get the answer. But oftentimes I let them figure it out themselves. And that's the process that you see. And, you know, the more they practice as a group, you know, they just got a new team together, the more they will gel together on that. But we work with each other throughout the week on the meetings. It is just when you don't, even when we're not in front of you, these things are, the agenda is being created. There's a lot of moving parts before it gets presented to the public. And oftentimes we're discussing these things, and sometimes the discussion just, you know, it changes the memory of how we were going to do things. And then it's my job to try to get it back on track. And I work closely with Miss Deborah White, who's the clerk of the court. She is also the parliamentarian. She's also the historian. She's got tremendous knowledge. She's been first African-American woman to serve in that role, longest serving clerk. You know, Portsmouth is full of history. I mean, full of history making individuals, and she's one of them. And so I lean on her as well to give me some guidance in that area. So
yeah, thanks for explaining that. And I just wanted to say that, hoping that some of them will be watching, because as I mentioned before, we only know what we see.
Sure.
It looks, you know, crazy sometimes to us. I mean, to put it simply, it looks crazy sometimes, even with some of the simplest, you know, procedural practices they have. So, and like you said, hopefully, you know, as they do it, you know, they'll become more proficient at it. So,
sure,
but,
absolutely.
I'm just, if you're watching City Council, sometimes it looks crazy to us. So, you know, get on the ball. But thanks for explaining that. Appreciate it.
But once again, James, we were on that same tune, because I wanted to say, after you asked that question, many asked, well, why don't the city attorney jump in?
Right.
So they need to have heard that explanation to see that you're only there to give advice.
Right.
You know, you're not there to jump into the discussion with them as they're going through the process. So I'm thankful for the question that James asked as well.
Sure. Yep. I would love to jump in. I do. It takes everything in me not to jump in. I you know, I love the back and forth of it. But yes, I have to be mindful of my role and serving the city.
I think sometimes too, it helps if it's, you know, if it's not the cohesiveness of the council, sometimes comes into play. If they're not working together on other things, it's egos sort of get in there, and they sort of looks like they're trying to outdo each other. Well, I know about how the rule goes. And then when it comes down to it, they get ready to vote. It just looks, you know, then they have to figure out, where were we? And I understand that, you know, if a lot of dialogue goes on in between the time that you actually vote. But, you know, if they can just make it simpler for us that are watching, you know.
Yeah.
And also, and I don't know if you can speak on this or not, Lavonda, but there were questions asked. I guess unless you follow the city council on a daily basis, you really don't understand what's taking place on the council. And there were some who have asked the situation with Councilman Barnes and the video, the showing of Facebook during the council chambers. There was a process that was followed before it was decided. So just for those who truly didn't understand, they only saw him being escorted out. They didn't see what took place prior to him being escorted out. Just kind of give if you can, a brief synopsis of what had taken place prior to him being escorted out.
You know, Miss Lee, I'm gonna leave these recordings, these meetings are recorded, and I'll leave that to the people to go back and take a look at. But I will say that you know, the presiding officer is the one who handles decorum and order in these council meetings, and he is the ultimate decider on how that proceeds. And so unless there is some objection from other council members on the decisions made by the presiding officer, or some sort of appeal made, then that process continues. And so, you know, and so that's really it. It's the presiding officer making a decision about what is going to be the decision made on decorum and procedure in that process. And that was a decision made by the presiding officer in that circumstance.
And I know, and like I said, I understand that.
Okay.
And another question that was asked also was, does that also pertain to those who are in the audience?
So yes, and so meaning are you referring to the recording?
The citizens, and they have their phones, and they are
okay, the phones. Okay, yes. So the new rule applied to placement of the phone on the dais for recording.
Okay, that's okay. What it is. That's what they were asking about.
So what it basically addresses, that all recording devices will be from the speaker's podium back, or at the discretion of the sergeant at arms. Should that be too cumbersome, they can require you to move it in a different location. So it really gives the authority to the sergeant of arms or the presiding officer to decide if the podium is appropriate or further back, but it just keeps the dais recording devices off the dais. So citizens never were able to put it on there in the first place. So this was really the council members' decision to limit it for everyone.
And you know how it is. They see one thing,
right,
and they throw it to everyone instead of like, go back, as you say, go back and watch the videos.
Sure.
And you can see what the procedure is. But they were uncertain, and they said, please ask, you know, if we're sitting in the audience, does it mean we can't do FaceTime, you know?
No, all of that. Nothing changes. No, nothing changes for the citizens. That really was applicable to the dais. So
to the dais.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. Good question. Thank you.
And they voted to agree with it. So once the majority votes to agree to it, it's a city council law per se.
That's
so
right.
Anybody that's a part of the council has to adhere to that.
Sure.
Unless they do some kind of, like you said, some kind of formal appeal. You know, I don't know how that works, but you know, but to defy that after it's been voted on, that's why you get escorted out. And like you said, it's at the discretion of the presiding officer. But you can't let somebody defy a rule that's been made by the majority of the council because you don't like it.
Exactly.
And that's just my opinion.
So let me do some little bit of housekeeping here right quick. For those out there in electron lands, if you look at this program, you will not see this kind of content anywhere. And so we at Portsmouth Coffee Talk are seeking donations so we can expand our programs and to bring programs like this at other times. And you can send a donation to Portsmouth Coffee Talk, P.O. Box 7664, Portsmouth, Virginia 23707. And any kind of help would be greatly appreciated. And 100% of your donations go to expanding this program. And Slim will give you other ways for the young folks to get us there, the Cash App and all this other young stuff.
Yeah, well, Cash App is PCT 1220, PCT 1220, $sign in front. And if you deal with Zelle, it's Portsmouth Coffee Talk at yahoo.com. Portsmouth Coffee Talk at yahoo.com. Thank you.
You know, as we go ahead, Colonel. Go ahead. I felt it. It was just piercing my heart. You know, go ahead.
Well, this is a follow-up because what we've been talking about. So about the cameras and everything. So is there a code of conduct for the members in the stands, the citizens, and those on the sitting on the dais?
Yeah, all of it is in the rules of city council rules, which is available online, and it's the same rules that have been in effect throughout the entirety of council. they apply to everyone, including the, the citizenry and the members of council. So all of that is in the rule. The change about the video recording was a change of that rule. And so it added that provision to it. So that it's the same rules that we've been working from. And those are available online.
Excellent, excellent. Leah, or do you want me, can I keep going?
Go ahead, Colonel. Go ahead. Go ahead. Go, Colonel.
Yeah, so actually this one, so as you after you graduated in Norcom and went through your education and got to where you are, and you look back in history right where you're at, and you see a young girl come in there getting ready in their senior year at Norcom or in high schools out here, getting ready to pick a college. So, and they want to be an attorney, they want to be young you. What would be your advice?
I would tell them to go to the college that is going to nurture them the most. Go to the college where you are going to thrive, because ultimately at the end of the day, the name isn't going to matter. You want to be bringing to the table experiences that enrich you. And so and going to law school is a long haul. You got 4 years of undergrad. You got to take the LSATs. You got to actively participate and create opportunities for yourself. And also, get through law school. Depending on if you go part-time, it's 4 years. If you go full-time, it's 3 years. So you don't want to burn yourself out early. And I will tell you that when I looked at which university I wanted to go to, my thought was I wanted to be as far away from home as possible. But also I wanted to be in a place where I could tap into some opportunities in the areas that I wanted to be in. And so Washington, D.C. was a natural choice for me, because at the time I wanted to, not only just practice law, I thought I would be in the legislature and Congress and serving in that way. And so that's where I went, but I could have easily have gone to Norfolk State or any other university if I thought that was going to be the best fit for me. It really is about finding what's going to nurture you and really, investing in going to the campus, talking to the students, looking at the matriculation rate, how many people are ending up graduating at the end of it. It's not all about rankings anymore. People are going to be interviewing you on your experiences and the connections that you make there. And if you're going to be stuck in a library because you got to study all the time and not connecting with people, you're missing the point of college. And so I think it's important to look at where you're going to be nurtured for sure.
How about major though?
Oh, majors. Yeah. The beautiful thing about law is you could really major in anything in undergrad and still be fine. You want something that's going to challenge to logic, decision making, critical thinking, writing. As long as you are getting taking advantage of those opportunities in your curriculum, you can really take anything. I took English and criminal justice. Those were the areas that interest me. The professors in those areas at my university were scholars in those fields. And so I just sort of naturally gravitated to that. But I mean, I went to law school with people who did, science, who did all engineering, all kinds of things. But you just need to be able to think critically, enjoy reading and writing, and logic is also very important, and a foreign language. That's also really important too.
And none of that, and you speak Spanish.
I do. I speak Spanish.
And doesn't that help that if you go into something else in your undergrad, chemistry or biology or something like that, and you choose a certain field, that background in chemistry or biology or something definitely would help you with certain cases that you might have to deal with.
Absolutely. Medical malpractice, any sort of science.
You understand the forensics of what's
forensics. I mean, it really translates into and all of these are specialties that you can hone yourself in once you graduate. That will serve you tremendously. Yeah.
Let me ask you about your, I read about your volunteerism with certain groups. And one thing,
I can't work with you, James. I can't work with
Stealing
you.
all your stuff today, Miss Leah.
Yeah.
Stealing all your
Stealing
stuff.
He saw me beginning to mouth something and he just ran with it, you know? Go ahead, James.
We like that.
But one thing I want you to
Anyway,
mention,
I was going to ask you,
why are you doing that, James? Why are you doing that? Why are you doing that?
why?
I have a love for children, okay?
Yes.
So I wanted to ask her about FLOC, FLOC, okay?
Yes, for the love of children.
For the love of children. Now go ahead, James. I will let you take it from there, okay?
And that wasn't one of the ones I was going to ask about, so we were straight there. But I wanted to ask first. Are you still a part of those groups like the ACLU and I want to know more about Go, Grow, and Be.
Oh yes, yes.
Are you able to still be a part of that? I mean, it's no conflict as far as being the city attorney being involved in those groups, because it's saying that you still are presently involved.
Absolutely. No, I looked into that for sure, mainly for the ACLU, because we do, oftentimes decide on cases to take. They can be against a city. And in those cases, I would obviously recuse myself. I've served in that capacity on that board for over a decade so far, and I'm dedicated to the First Amendment and all the other the social justice piece in Virginia. They came to Virginia when I was in high school, and Norfolk opened the doors to them to talk to us about the role that ACLU plays in our community, and that really shaped me. And I was committed to that organization from the very beginning. But you talk about my organization, Go, Grow, Be, and I'm so glad you brought that up. That is my heart and soul as a mother of a special needs child in a community that has a tremendous growing need for services for special needs children. That organization, it means the most to me, quite frankly. A group of mothers like myself got together and we developed this organization to pull together the resources that each of us had in our own circle and made them available to other parents who may not be able to have access to that same information. And our organization does it differently. Our organization not only shares the information, but we pull the communities together to talk about their experiences with these organizations, so that you're getting truly vetted information about these services that are serving our children. To have a special needs child is a beautiful thing, but is a frightening thing. And it is a struggle that continues throughout their lives and yours. And there's constantly a need to adjust as they grow. And finding good services from the beginning to the end is my goal for all parents and caregivers of individuals with special needs. So that's what that organization does.
I was going to ask that. You said from beginning to end, because often you don't see a lot of services, because those special needs kids, they grow into adults.
They grow into adults. That's right. You're absolutely right. And the services drop off tremendously.
It's just like you see the younger ones, but then when they're adults, you know.
Yep. And the services start in the education. And so that's another thing that our schools are responsible for, is providing all children, including special needs children. So if you have a special needs child in a classroom, that school system has to accommodate them by providing the services to make sure that they thrive just like a typical kid would. It is not like, oh, well, they can't read, well, they're just not going to be able to read. That's not right. You have to provide the services that effectuate that child's ability to meet the needs of education just like any other kid. And so that's a tremendous pull on a school system, and we need to be preparing for that. And we hope to be able to work with our school systems here to make sure that our team is ready. And they've been wonderful. They've been wonderful.
Lavonda, I have some friends who have special needs children. How can they get in touch with the organization or find out ways in which they can get information from the organization?
Well, we have a website, we have a Facebook page, Go, Grow, Be. We post our activities. Right now, we're very heavy in the Northern Virginia area. I have not, since moving here, formed a local group, but we are looking to do that. And so what I will do, Ms. Lee, is I will pass on that information to you to share with your circles. And if anybody else has a special needs child and has any questions, we are expanding our reach to include this area as well, because the need is here as well. So
It is.
absolutely.
And as James took us into this arena here, I do want to hear about Flock. For the love of children.
Flock is a long time organization. Flock stands for the love of children. Flock was really the first nonprofit organization that I was involved with that really taught me about the needs of our children, typical or special. And Flock is a national organization that supports communities. It's community-based. It also supports school systems and provides alternative resources for children to grow and thrive. So they have community events, they have after school programs, they have resource centers where parents can find information about summer camps and things like that. And it's all for the love of children. It's an amazing organization.
Okay, and last but not least, James, mothers of incarcerated sons and daughters.
Okay, that is
you're hitting on two areas that touch my heart, and that's the children. And of course, I'm very concerned about these children who are the children of parents who have been incarcerated. So.
Absolutely. This is an organization that I discovered in my work in the criminal defense field. And this organization pulled together mothers and fathers really of who are serving and sponsoring and assisting their children who have found themselves in the system. Some for the first time, some who are struggling and have continued to be in the system, but they need the same support, even more support in terms of transitioning. These mothers pull together their resources to help find lawyers, to help find rehabilitative services for their loved ones when they return to the community. They were very instrumental in I think the support for the governor's actions when he unilaterally provided for the rights being restored of a number of incarcerated individuals that allowed them to vote and to seek other rights that were otherwise disenfranchised. And so these organizations are, they are the lifeblood of those issues that I find very near and dear to me, which is helping those parts of our community that are going to need it the most. And that's our returning citizens, our special needs children, and those caregivers that provide for them. And now more than ever, we need these services. And I learned about this kind of service right here in this city in Portsmouth. There was a group of women called Progressive Women of Portsmouth. I don't think they're together anymore, but they pulled a bunch of us young ladies and taught us, which fork to use, how to dress accordingly, interviews. They were in the community and they set examples that, that's the key to bringing your community forward, is going into those communities and serving the needs individually together. They want to see people that they know, that they care about, that they love. They want to see Miss Leah, Mr. Overton, and the professor out in their communities, not just on these television screens, but they want to be able to see them in the community, doing the things that help them move forward. So that's Portsmouth.
I got one correction, or either I got one comment. You said about the governor unilaterally giving back voting rights.
Sure. Yeah, that was a broad statement.
It was not this present governor.
No, it was definitely not this present. The minute I said that, I said I probably should correct that, but I think all who know full well it was not.
Colonel was gonna come back with that one. Now.
I knew he was.
He was gonna pick up on that. Yes, indeed. I like for you. We're winding down now, but
sure.
I've seen you before. How proudly you talk about your staff of attorneys.
Yeah.
If you can, if you're prepared, you want to give them a shout out.
Oh, of course. Yes, absolutely. Thank you. Yes, I want to, first of all, let's start with the core, which are my paralegals. They keep us straight. And that is Renita Goodwin and Jennifer Robertson. Those two ladies are amazing, amazing women that have the hardest job of keeping all of us on task. They're the true lifeblood, and they embraced me from day one, made me feel comfortable. And, you know, one of the biggest decisions when you come into a new office is how do you structure it to be what you want it to be? And so I know people are always worried when a new leadership comes in, and there was no doubt in my mind that this team was going to stay together. And we have held on to every single person except one. And when that, or two, one retired and the other one went on, stayed in municipal government, but went to a different city. And we, you know, supported her in that process, but everyone is still there. So we'll start with Derek Challenger, who is one of the newest deputies. I gave him that promotion, well-deserved. We have Jeff Miller, who is also a key. Everybody knows solid, our boy Jeff.
Everybody knows Jeff.
He is the gosh, man, that man is so calm under all kinds of circumstances. He keeps me grounded. There's Burl Stromberg, who holds himself that knows everybody everywhere in Portsmouth. He keeps his ear to the ground. We have Kelsey Swarenga, who's been around for 5 years now. She's our the younger of the group. We have Janita Costin, who used to be the deputy over at the public defender's office. Yeah, so she's the absolute.
That's my sweetheart.
Fighter. Yeah, I'm telling my sweetheart too. I tell you, she's a fighter. She is our liaison to the police department. So we do good work with them on a regular basis, and we're very happy to have her. There is the superstar Sheila Riddick. You all know how I feel about Sheila. Sheila has Truxton girl. Yes, Truxton girl, Portsmouth born and raised.
That's right.
Listen, she gonna fuss because I said her name out loud. You know, she don't like a whole lot of
She don't like no rising now. She likes to soar under the radar.
That's it. But she is an absolute star. And an amazing advisor, and I value the fact that I am able to serve with her. You know, when I was doing my 3rd year practice, and even before then, when I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do with my life, you know, Sheila was bopping around the courthouse and just holding it down. And I was just amazed by her kindness and her willingness to extend herself to me at a very early age. And so to be full circle and be able to come back and work with her in my office and have her there to advise me is just unbelievable. You know, she was the first African-American to serve in that office back in 1986.
That's right.
And she is still there, and I am proud of every day I get to walk in the door and see her. So, let me see, I don't want to leave anybody out now. Did I get everybody? I did. Yes, that's my crew, and I wouldn't change them for the world. They are amazing stewards of the city, and you all should be proud. It's a diverse group. They are hip to the cultural issues of the world, as well as in our own city. They are keen on doing the right thing at the right time all the time. And I couldn't have asked for a better team. Yeah,
I'd just like to say this about Jeff Miller, me having served on different boards and commissions, planning commission. He was around back then in the 90s when I was doing that, and was always, like you said, calm, but always gave the best advice. And it was easier to take that advice from him because of his calmness.
Oh,
he never was rude or abrasive with it. And I just had to shout him out because he's been around a long time. And his advice made us look good on those boards that we were setting.
Yeah, he's still giving it. And, you know, he lets me, you know, challenge him in some of his decisions, and he's very comfortable with, you know, tossing ideas around. He's phenomenal with thinking outside the box, and, you know, was not at all anything other than welcoming and supportive. He's a true ally to the city. We're lucky to have him. And also lucky to have all of them.
How, you know, when the council asks you a question, you say, well, let me check on that.
Yeah.
And they're sitting out there and they'll throw the answer at you before.
Listen, they know I don't play no surprises. You better
Right.
have this answer. Look,
You might
It's
be
both.
putting it to the next meeting and they have the answer right there.
That's right. I've got a tag team. It's both Jeff and Derek, and they're phenomenal. You know, it's hard to know all the answers all the time when you're sitting there. I have to keep track of a number of things when I'm there to make sure that we're following the agenda, that we are doing the steps in accordance to make the decisions that are made official. And so there's a lot of moving parts, and it is amazing to have my team out there who's sort of fielding the questions and also making sure that the answers that we give are accurate. And it's important for the people to have the appropriate answers in real time. And that's why I have them there, and they've been amazing. They're amazing team.
Thanks for doing that, because people have to be realized there's a lot of spikes in that wheel to make it turn smoothly.
Oh, for sure.
And the teamwork is very obvious when you're sitting out there in the audience as you are going through the process on council. Now, one thing I also want to ask you, are there any opportunities for students to come into your office, either for mentorship or for internship?
Absolutely. Absolutely. There is opportunity to come serve, to work, to sit and chat with me or my team about how this process works. You know, I always say that Stephanie Morales gets all the exciting stuff as a Commonwealth attorney, and everybody knows about that area. And that's a great, you know, that's a great office as well. But the city attorney's office, we've got some exciting things going on too, with economic development for the city, just knowing where, you know, where the liability potentials are, evaluating contracts and negotiations. I mean, it's a new day, an exciting day every day in the city attorney's office. So I encourage high school students, seniors and juniors to contact our office. We're going to be posting more internship inquiries, so you can email me directly at Graham WL, GRAHAMWL at portsmouthva.gov. That gets directly to me. So if you have any young folks out there that want to intern, send them my way. We do law students in the summer, as well as high school seniors and juniors. So we are looking forward to it. And if you know, if you're from Norcom, that's an easy one in there. That's an easy path. So don't be shy.
Do citizens know that they can make appointments with your office, attorneys in your office, if they have specific issues? I think a lot of citizens might not know that, or can they?
Well, we don't. It depends. Now, we do not provide legal services to citizens on their own personal issues. But let's say they have they have a question about, is my business in compliance? I got this citation. I don't understand what this means. My neighbor has trash in their front yard. Who do I contact? We are available to the citizens to answer any question. We may not be able to give them legal advice on their own personal issues, but we are open to talk with them about any process and procedures or any questions that they have. So yes, please feel free to contact the office. We're here to serve them. Yeah.
Any last comments from the host before we close out here?
Yeah, I do.
Go ahead, Colonel.
You know, Colonel, they told me this was women's history. This is what we were going to talk about. And you ain't said a single word about no women's history. I'm going to tell you, I'm going to see you on the street. And
Colonel, especially at the farmer's market.
That's right.
The farmer's market on Saturdays. Okay?
That's my spot.
Well, I just had one little comment when you mentioned the ACLU.
Yes.
Which I think is a great organization. It has been vilified by the right, or what I call the Confederates of this country. They have vilified that and made it negative. And I will say those who have special needs kids, those who care about the First Amendment, those who care about the Constitution, those rights that we enjoy that have come under the Bill of Rights and the Constitution are shared by all.
That's right.
And
That's
so,
right.
ACLU is at the forefront of fighting for those rights. And
that's right.
You need to understand before you vilify an organization what they stand for.
And I would say this also, Colonel, that's a good point. One of the biggest lessons I learned serving that organization is learning how to set aside your own personal beliefs. I have had to personally represent members of the KKK. I've had to protect the rights of those whose thoughts and views are wholly separate from mine. And that is an important skill to have, because you have to know how to think of the bigger picture. You have to think about, what am I seeking to protect? My own personal interests, or am I trying to protect the right of every citizen to be able to speak freely, to be able to challenge their government, to be able to make sure that the things that the government is saying to you are true and accurate, that you are, if you are going to say I have a right, then I want that right to be protected for everyone. Because if you start parsing out who should get a right and who shouldn't, then that means one day you're going to be on the wrong side of that decision.
That's right.
And so that's what the ACLU stands for. And that's why I feel so strongly about it, because it's not just about you in this moment. It is about preserving a legacy for everyone, so that when it is the time comes for a voice to be heard, it is heard. And that's tremendous. For a right to be protected, it is protected. For an interest to be rectified, it's rectified. Yeah.
So saying that, since it's Women's History Month,
there you go.
Those same rights, the ACLU is fighting for women's right to choose. That has been taken away from half of this country. So you almost have a North and a South Confederacy where women don't have the choice for to have say so over their own bodies. So need organizations to stand up and fight. Right. So
absolutely.
And my last closing, I'm gonna give you A today from the professor.
And you've done well. You've done well to get an A from the Colonel.
Listen, I'm putting that on the resume. That goes on the resume.
That's
for
right.
Sure, Colonel, because you are something else. I appreciate it.
Test next Friday. Might be a follow-up.
Listen.
Speaking of Women's History Month, we should have mentioned this in the beginning. I think that there was another woman that served on an interim basis, but she didn't ever go.
Right. Yeah, we actually had. She did not. Simone Booth, who is now over. I think she's I think she's in Virginia Beach with their school board. You're talking about Sharon Ivory. Sharon Ivory also served in that office before I got there, and before Simone. She was, I believe, a deputy. She served in the Portsmouth City Attorney's office. She's now the city attorney in Hampton, and a very good friend of mine. Tremendous resource. Another, I want to say, women's history. And whether she was the first or not, she is an amazing individual and should be recognized. So shout out to Miss Ivory.
So, and we're recognizing you as you continue to make women's history.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
Lynn, did you have a last comment?
I do. Lavonda,
Miss
my sweetie. You know, I am just so proud of all that you've done and all that you continue to do. And as you know, you have my support 100%. 100%.
Thank you.
I know that I know you've come back to the school, you've talked to the students, and that's what it's all about. You know, letting them see you, letting them touch you, letting them to just to be in your presence. It makes a difference for the students who yet haven't found their way. You know, you're a good example, you know, you're a good mentor. I just appreciate you so very much. And I'm just so very happy that you have come back to Portsmouth, you know, and after Lavonda, I have to put this little piece in. After she came back to Portsmouth, that's when I realized that my aunt lived right next door to her family members. So I've been knowing her family members forever and did not know, went to school with her auntie and did not know this until she came back to be sworn in. When I saw the family sitting over there, and I said, wait a minute now. This looks like some folks that I grew up with over here.
That's right.
So
That's right.
I'm just so happy. I know that you have made the Norcom family super proud. And we just love you so very much. And thank you for all that you do on behalf of the citizens of Portsmouth. Thank you so very much.
Well, thank you all. I don't do it alone. Everyone in city leadership is there with the right state of mind to move Portsmouth forward. There's a lot of exciting things on the horizon. I am so thankful to be here at this time, and the work that you all do for not only the city, for the alumni at IC Norcom. I know I'm biased to IC Norcom, all the high schools really. It's tremendous work, and I love to see you all in the community, and come on down to these council meetings and let's talk about some of these things there and let's get some stuff moving forward. Let's have these tough discussions. That's what it's all about. And I love you all. Thank you again, and it was a pleasure to be here this morning.
Yeah, and I want to thank you for agreeing to come on, and please come on again as we continuously inform the public about what you do in your office and the things you do, and appreciate you answering what you could of the Colonel.
Listen, I watched some prize shows. I knew he was going to try me. I
knew for you, right?
I knew he was going to try me.
Well, this is not a got you show, but
it's not. No, I didn't feel that way either. These are good questions. The questions we want to know. But
because these are things that usually the public wants to know, or they ask us to ask.
That's right.
So,
and listen, I want to be very clear. I support every single one of my council members. And I think that all of them have a good heart and want what's best for the city. And, politics is a tough game to be in. It takes you away from your friends and family. It puts you in a spotlight. And I could tell you, having dealt with each and every one of them personally, their hearts are in the right place. Give them grace. And know that each and every one of them has a voice that needs to be heard, and we should be doing that. So I look forward to it. I'll see you guys on the flip side. Look, I hear my baby rumbling. I got to get him off to Parkview Elementary. Okay. And so I will sign off here.
Portsmouth Coffee Talk is here for our voice,
our community,
in our future.
And we salute you. We salute you, Attorney Lavonda Graham Williams.
Thank you. Thank you.
1993 graduate.
93, that's right.
Watch us this Thursday as we end Women's History Month with the queens of Portsmouth, Senator Louise Lucas.
Oh, yeah.
Honorable Cynthia Morrison and Honorable Costello Williams.
All right.
We have, done some great things in the city over the years, and they are a force politically and socially.
Absolutely.
All right, take care, everybody.
All right, take care. All right, you guys take care.
Bye-bye.
Yes, indeed.